It's like when we stop outsourcing that power and we really take control, when we really take the wheel. And when you do this, you'll begin to notice that like so many outside things that used to ruffle your feathers, that used to shake your cage, right? That used to completely like knock you out of alignment really don't have the same power over you anymore. And I think this is really important for highly sensitive people. If you consider yourself an empath or you're very intuitive, if you're psychic, that you really work on these things because welcome back to the Shadow Priestess Embodied. I'm your host, Kaylin Rakowski, and thank you for joining me today for another deep dive and exploration into your inner world, into your body, the shadow realms, where we will begin to explore some of these esoteric principles and really begin to drop them down into modern day application and embodiment. This is a sacred place where you can begin to truly meet yourself, meet your medicine, and to meet your magic. This is a place of remembrance. Take a deep breath and let's begin. Welcome back, beautiful people, for another episode of the Shadow Priestess Embodied podcast. And I think this is going to be the last episode of 2023. Man, has it been a year. So, what I want to talk about today is something that I feel is so important. And this goes literally for anyone, any field, any sex, but I really want to speak about energetic sovereignty. And when I'm saying energetic sovereignty, what I'm really speaking to is somebody who has mastery over self, who has mastery over their energy, over their emotions, over their triggers, so on and so forth. And the reason I really want to dive into this conversation today is because over the holidays, I've noticed with my family, with my clients, with their families, people's stuff really seems to be shaken up. It really seems to be uprooted, all of our triggers, past wounds. For whatever reason, I feel like the holidays really illuminate a lot of this. And it's 111 as I'm saying this. So, universe is co signing that. And what I've really come to realize is that having energetic sovereignty and really taking ownership and radical responsibility over myself and over my life has really transformed the way that I interact with those around me. And I'm curious if you guys notice some of this too, where I feel like a lot of us who are old souls, or, we came here with a really specific mission, are really connected to our spirituality, to divinity, that it almost seems like we instantly become an elder in any relationship and our family dynamics and our relationships. Like, you guys have probably always heard that saying, like, this person is wise beyond their years, or they're always the bigger person. And I feel like so much of that really comes down to how you relate to yourself, how aware you are of yourself, how much ownership you take over yourself. And the reason I want to bring this conversation to the table today is because if there was one thing for you to really cultivate and really embody going into 2024, in my perspective, it would be energetic sovereignty. When you stop outsourcing, your emotions, your joy, your success, how you feel about yourself, how you feel in a certain environment, in a certain relationship, a situation, like whatever. It's like when we stop outsourcing that power and we really take control, when we really take the wheel. And when you do this, you'll begin to notice that like so many outside things that used to ruffle your feathers, that used to shake your cage, right? That used to completely like knock you out of alignment really don't have the same power over you anymore. And I think this is really important for highly sensitive people. if you consider yourself an empath or you're very intuitive, if you're psychic, that you really work on these things, because then it's like when we are enmeshed in other people's energy, right? Like when we're at a Christmas party, when, somebody's like projecting and having their own experience, that we don't take it onto self. And it's like in their presence, you become this energetic sieve where, you can intuitively still feel into the energy. You can still feel into the room. You can still feel into what isn't being said, but then instead of taking in that energy and making it mean anything about you, or taking ownership, that you're frustrated, that you're angry, that whatever, you can feel somebody else's energy and mesh it in your body and then release it and let it go. And this is why you hear all the time people say, like, you need to know yourself. But what I think that really means is like, we really need to get comfortable and embodied in our essence, in our own energy. Because when you truly have this energetic sovereignty that I'm speaking to, then it is so much easier to have discernment between what is yours and what isn't yours. And this is when you can be enmeshed with people who are triggered or who are having a bad experience, and you don't take it in and make it your own, right? You have that discernment. You have like that eagle eye where it's like, ooh, I can feel that something's off here. Okay, let me check in with my body. And it's so much easier then to feel it and then release it, because what I see with a lot of highly sensitive people is that they take on these energies from people around them, right? From their parents, from their partners, from their kids. And they take this energy into self without having this energetic sovereignty, without having proper grounding, without having proper cleansing practices. And then the energy gets enmeshed in their own, and it gets kind of swampy where you end and someone else begins. So, what I'm really inviting you all into this year is to take radical responsibility over yourself, to take radical responsibility over your life, and to really begin to practice energetic sovereignty, where you really get to know yourself, where you really get to know your energy. Because the truth is, the person who has energetic sovereignty, the person who has mastery over themselves, over the energetics, has mastery over the room. And this is when you walk into a room and people are literally just so drawn to you, because you're coming from this energy of groundedness, of wholeness, of embodied truth, where it's like you're not coming in there with this wobbly power or needing or trying to get anything from them, right? It's like you're so easy to be around, because the word that's coming is like there's almost like a layer of safety where people feel like they don't have to tiptoe around you, or they don't have to worry about what they say, and they can fully just be embodied in their truth and like what is real for them, without having to worry like what's going to be the outlash, right? Like what's going to be the pushback, what's going to be the quote unquote like consequence if I show up in this way. It's like when you truly are grounded in your energy, it gives people permission to really show up authentically. It gives them permission to fully be themselves. And a beautiful thing happens, you get this beautiful exchange with people that, just by you being so anchored in the embodiment of your essence, of your truth, it's like you give them permission to do the same. And you probably have people like that in your life that you're like, damn, I just feel so good when I'm around this person. It feels safe to be with this person. I know I can say, I can do anything, and this person can hold it. This is what I'm talking to. And this is why so many times, too, it's like I see people in any type of relationship dynamic, and they'll be like, well, you made me mad and you made me feel this way, and you na 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 na, right? Like we all have those people in our lives, but the truth of the matter is, it's like you cannot make someone feel anything that isn't already inside of them. And nobody can make you feel anything that isn't already inside of you. And it really is like that silly like analogy of like when you bump into someone who has a cup of coffee and the coffee spills, it spills because there was coffee in there, right? And so many times, I think we misinterpret our triggers. And this is like coming back to this energetic sovereignty piece. We're like, you triggered me, you pissed me off, you hurt me. But the reason is because all that stuff was already inside of them, right? That was already living in them. And the trigger isn't hitting on the actual like root or the wound. Like it's literally just the signal and it's the symptom. And there's something so much deeper there. And the whole reason that it's coming to the surface in the first place is because you've been bottling it up and suppressing it and repressing it and pushing it down and trying not to feel it. And somebody just boop, lightly taps on it and it comes out. So it really wasn't about the person or the thing. It's this unhealed trauma that you refuse to look at, that you refuse to deal with. And then somebody comes and bumps your cup of coffee and it spills and you blame the person when really it's really just the symptom. It's not the root, right? So when we have this energetic sovereignty, when we have this awareness, we can approach our triggers, we can approach our relationships in such a different lens because we're taking the power back, where we're not blaming somebody and we're not being a victim, where we're looking at ourselves and like, okay, well, why is this bothering me in the first place? What's really here? What's really going on with me? Because I promise you, it's so much deeper than the thing in the moment. Because the truth is, like, when you really start to have energetic sovereignty, when you really start to take radical responsibility over yourself, over your energy, and really start to look deep and within yourself and at some of these triggers, you'll realize that, like, after you heal and after you've addressed like the root cause of these things, that you don't really get triggered anymore, right? This family member won't trigger you anymore. This certain, you know, way of being, the certain thing that somebody does, the certain thing somebody says, whatever it is. But the point is, it's not about the thing. It's about what the fuck is under the thing, right? What is the thing that you've been refusing to look at that is getting triggered in the first place? And as you begin to do this, you won't be triggered as much and you won't need so many boundaries because you're healed. But the only way that you're going to actually get to that place and be able to take sovereignty over yourself and over your emotions and over your life is when you stop playing the victim. When you stop blaming everyone around you for how you feel and what they did and right? Every time you do that, you are literally outsourcing your power. You are giving your power away to a person, to a circumstance, to an environment, right? We have to stop doing that. If you want to radically change your life, you have to radically change yourself and how you interact with the world around you. It starts with you. You will always go first. And I see that so many times, like people are so stuck in this survival and this victim mentality and constantly blaming everyone else around them when they refuse to look at themselves, when they refuse to clean up their side of the street, when they refuse to lift up the rug and fucking address all the fucking shadows and gunk that you keep hiding under there. It's time to take your power back. It's time to take radical responsibility over your life and over yourself. I promise you, the minute you realize that you are the source of everything and that you get to control how you feel, what you respond to, who you're being, how you react when somebody else is projecting or, having a moment, those are those little moments that compound into everything. And I'm not saying that, all triggers are bad. I don't view triggers as a bad thing. I think that our triggers are a way that our higher self communicates to say, hey, there's something here out of alignment. Hey, there's something here we need to look at. But I've had enough awareness and energetic sovereignty within myself that I view them that way. And if my partner's triggering me, if my mom's triggering me, if my brother's triggering me, then it's not like, oh, well, they did this thing and they didn't do this and blah, 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 blah. I can look at it and be like, okay, there's something here for me. Like, let me look at myself and why this is showing up. Where is that way of being living in me? Because, hello, we're all mirrors. But it really starts when you stop being the victim, when you stop blaming everybody, when you start taking your power back and realizing that you are sovereign, that you are divine, that you literally have the power to change your experience with reality, to change your experience with your family, to change your experience in your relationships now. But it starts with you. So, what I'm really inviting you to step into in 2024 is energetic sovereignty. When you really begin to know yourself, when you can be so embodied in your authenticity, in your essence, that it's almost like you're unshakable, you're grounded. Every little thing in your life isn't going to come and knock you off and throw you for a loop. It's like you have this deep inner knowing and this level of discernment to move through your life with such a different ease and flow. It's really moving from this place of survival to sovereignty, really letting go of victim mentality and realizing that you are the one who has control over yourself. In our lives, the only thing we ever have control over is ourselves, who we are being, and how we are showing up. And the minute we own that and we get to choose differently, move differently, respond differently, the world around us begins to change. I really hate that people say, like, people don't change. I don't believe that's true. We all have a large capacity to change. But it's the work, it's those small choices every day that compound into a new experience. And the beautiful thing about this is that you are the driver. You are the one holding the control panel. So take this as your invitation this year to move differently, to drop deep into yourself, cultivate a state of awareness. Next time you feel triggered, next time, you catch yourself in the victim or the woe is me, stories, take a step back and look at, what is my responsibility in this? How am I showing up? Who am I being? And I promise you, when you start to look at these things, you're going to create an element of choice and power to absolutely create the most magical year of your life. So, this is my quick tidbit on energetic sovereignty for 2024. I'm wishing you guys an absolutely incredible new year and stay blessed. I'll see you in 2024. Thank you so much for joining me today for another episode of the Shadow Priestess Embodied podcast and closing out my first year of podcasting. So, your girl is feeling a little emotional and just so excited for what's to come. This has probably been one of my absolute, just most favorite projects I've ever dove into, and I can't wait to continue with you. So, for all of my listeners who have been here with me on this journey and evolution, sending you so much gratitude and love. And it really means the world to me that you're here and that you're feeling these conversations. And if you are looking to change your just identity, your experience with reality, to step more into your authenticity, your desires, whatever it is, this is my wheelhouse. This is my playground. And I will be opening up a few high level one on one mentorship spaces, as well as relaunching my group mastermind Emergence. So if either of these sound like something you'd love to be a part of, click the link in my show notes to explore the possibilities. as well as all my free resources that I have linked down there. So happy new year, and let's make this the best one yet.